Joining me today from the European Parliament in Strasbourg is Denmark's European Affairs Minister Marie Bjerre. She's had a busy 6 months as Denmark has been holding the rotating presidency of the European Union. They hand over the baton to Cyprus in the new year. Minister, welcome and thank you so much for joining us on Euronews.
Thank you.
So you said very clearly back in the summer at the beginning of this presidency that advancing Ukraine's application to join the European Union would be a big priority for you. Are you satisfied that progress has been made?
Well, absolutely. Advancing EU enlargement process with Ukraine has been and is one of our top priorities because we live in uncertain times. We need a stronger Europe, a Europe that is more secure, that can defend itself, and enlargement is a part of that priority. And that is why it has been so essential for us to move on the enlargement agenda, especially with Ukraine, but also with Moldova and the countries in West Balkan. This is about security. We need the candidate countries to be closer with the EU, to be more secure, more stability for Europe. We don't want any of the candidate countries to turn their eyes to Russia. It has been particularly difficult with Ukraine because, as I guess almost everyone knows, Hungary is blocking for formal process with Ukraine.
Recently, I know in Lviv that you managed to find a solution for that, which is a workaround that the technical work can continue, the Ukraine can continue on this path. But are you disappointed that you were not able to convince Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán to give his green light and that you had to find this quite creative workaround to that?
No, I have to say I am extremely satisfied and proud that we actually managed to find a new approach where the enlargement procedure is not at a standstill, but is in fact very much alive, that we are moving with Ukraine and also Moldova, because we are now taking this new approach, and that approach will be continued during the next presidency, the Cyprus presidency. So even though that Hungary is blocking, we have moved on the enlargement agenda, because we knew before we took over the presidency that it would be a problem with Hungary. They were also blocking during the Polish presidency, and they are still blocking.
Couldn't this risk, though, entrenching Viktor Orbán's opposition even more? Because at some point, if the rules stay as they are, he will have to lift his veto if Ukraine is to become a European Union member.
Well, the enlargement procedure requires unanimity and eventually becoming a member country. We need all countries on board. But I think that when Ukraine is delivering and increasingly are making the reforms, are getting closer to EU day by day, that also increases the pressure on Hungary. They can't keep blocking because Ukraine is getting so much closer to EU in terms of reforming and transforming the country. And Ukraine in EU will be a huge benefit, not just for Ukraine, but also for EU. For instance, when it comes to our defense and security, having an integrated defense with Ukraine would really boost our security. So I think as long as Ukraine is moving that way, we are also able to increase the pressure on Hungary.
Now, you've always said that EU membership should be merit-based. That is, countries have to meet milestones, implement reforms, and be ready to join the European Union before they join. But now Ukraine and also the US seems to have a different timeline in mind, and they're saying that Ukraine, as part of security guarantees, should become a European Union member as soon as January 2027. Do you feel you're being outsmarted by the US here?
Well, I hear all of those rumors, and to be frank, we hear a lot of things from over the seas. We have never put a timeline on neither Ukraine nor Moldova or the countries in the West Balkan, because it is a merit-based approach, and we stand with that. Ukraine have to deliver. Of course, we would like to see them sooner than later in the EU, but they have to deliver and they have to reform. We're not going to lower the bar. We will help them reach the bar.
So no peace agreement can demand quicker access or establish a timeline for the enlargement process?
I think it is fair that it is a part of the talks when we're talking about peace with Ukraine, because the EU membership is undoubtedly a part of the long-term security and stability for Ukraine. Having a more stable country. But when we talk security guarantees, the EU membership is not enough.
Moving on to a slightly different topic, you've also vowed at the beginning of the presidency to tackle bureaucracy and over-regulation. And in recent months, we've seen various initiatives, so-called simplification packages, stripping back EU laws in many different areas in order to restore its competitive edge. Are you satisfied with these measures, or are you still concerned that Europe could become a desert for tech champions and emerging companies?
Well, I'm very happy that you're bringing up this topic, because that's also really one of the areas that I'm just super proud of the Danish presidency. We said from the beginning that we wanted a stronger Europe in terms of security and defense, and also competitiveness. That was the second theme. And we really managed also to deliver a result here, taking the omnibus packages. The Council now have reached a general approach on 6 of the omnibus packages, and we have been able to, during our presidency, to make agreement on 3 of the omnibus packages with the European Parliament. Especially, I am very satisfied that we made agreement on the Omnibus 1 on sustainability requirements for companies. This will ease the burdens on our companies very much, and that is very good. And it is a good first step for moving on and making it easier to do business in Europe. And that is really something we need if we want to have a better competitiveness in Europe.
But does this simplification agenda come with a price? Does it come with a price for the climate, for example?
I don't see it that way. Actually, on the contrary, if we don't strengthen our competitiveness, we will not be able to solve the climate challenges we are faced with. Because in order to find solutions for that, we need to have a strong economy where we do not depend on fossil fuel. Therefore, we need new green technologies. And those new green technologies, they cannot thrive if we don't have a good economic environment and where it is easy for businesses to scale and to grow, to find investment.
Digital rules have also been simplified. Are you concerned that this is partly a bow to the US, which is making it very clear that it's unhappy with the degree of regulation affecting digital tech companies coming from the European Union?
I think it is quite a strange argument to make. Europe have to have better competitiveness, and we needed to have that whether we had Trump or we did not have Trump, whether the US is saying what they do or not. That was evidenced by the Mario Draghi report last year, before there was the presidency election in the US. We have problems with our competitiveness, and Mario Draghi, in fact, was also pointing to that we are over-regulating in EU. So this has nothing to do with Trump or the US. This has something to do with EU, with Europe, that we want Europe to be stronger. And in order for us to be a global actor, we need to make it easier to do business, and therefore we need to ease the burdens.
I'd like to touch as well, Minister, if I can, on the migration files, because you have been overseeing, as the Danish presidency, many important developments when it comes to migration policy, including steps that could allow EU countries to send asylum seekers to third countries deemed safe. Some of these countries may have absolutely no connection to these asylum seekers. Is this a fair and humane way for the EU to treat potential refugees?
This has also been part of our presidency priorities, and it is a part of making Europe more secure. We need to have better control of migrants going to Europe, and we need to be better at sending irregular migrants back. It is also about the number. There is a limitation of how many irregular migrants we can receive. That will destabilize our countries if we receive too many, if we cannot send back irregular migrants. Now we have reached an agreement in the Council on the safe third country, making it easier to send irregular migrants back.
And would you say that the EU is now embracing the quite harsh or hard line on migration that Denmark has been embracing for quite a long time and often criticized for that?
Well, to be honest, not enough. I mean, it's very good that we made these agreements, but we still have a lot of problems. We still have conventions saying that we have to protect the criminal immigrants better than our own citizens. And Denmark, we are struggling a lot.
Are you referring to the Human Rights Convention?
The Human Rights Convention, yes. Criminal immigrants that we cannot send back because of the conventions. So this has nothing to do with the EU policy, but the conventions. And that is a problem. And we are, to say it out straight, we are protecting criminal immigrants better than we are protecting our own citizens. So this is something that we are also working with. We did that before our presidency, during our presidency, and we will keep working with that. And I just acknowledge that we are now many member countries, also non-EU countries, that are now working to have this changed.
And you support changing the way that convention is interpreted, is that right?
Yes. We made a letter together with now, I believe it's 27 countries, some of them EU countries. It is also about trust and trust in our democracy. If it is convention and judges that are making our laws instead of elected politicians, we will lose trust in our democracy. So this is something we have to take serious. And that's what we do from Denmark. And I can see that more and more countries agree with our approach in Denmark about this.
Finally, Minister, to close off, what would you say to your Cypriot counterparts? What should they really be prioritizing over the next 6 months?
Well, I hope they will continue on the same track as we did, and we followed up on the Polish presidency, especially when it comes to security and defense. That was also what the Polish presidency was about. We have built on that, also on competitiveness, and this is really key issues for Europe. Now we have a roadmap from the Commission guiding us how to being able to defend ourselves in 2030. I hope that the Cyprus presidency will continue this work, and also on competitiveness. We just talked about the Omnibus 1, and now we have 8 packages, but much more will come from the Commission, and we need to reach agreements on that in the Council and with the European Parliament. So I really hope that the Cyprus presidency will do their best on this. I'm sure they will.
Minister, thank you so much.
Thank you.